Today I'd like to talk about a useful heuristic that will improve the code organization of your games, especially for low-level scripts. You want to have the code that deals with things like inputs and randomness in a different script than the deterministic code. Let me illustrate why that is. So I've set up my robot here with this function that takes player input and uses it to determine what to do. In this case, when the player presses a joypad button, depending on the button, the robot will either advance, so that's move forward, if the button is Y. If the button is A, the robot will shoot, and then if it's the left or the right trigger, the robot will turn in the appropriate direction. So let's take a look at what that looks like. So here's the robot, and as you can see, I have control over it. I can have it move, I can have it rotate as I like by pressing the appropriate button, I can have it shoot. Here's the issue. Let's say I want to change the game so that instead of me controlling the robot directly, the player writes a program which is then executed step by step. Given my current implementation of the robot, this is going to be really messy because I have this input function integrated straight into the robot's script. I would need to either conditionally disable this or maybe replace it altogether. And then if I try out the new idea and decide I don't like it, then I'll have to go back to this method. And it might even be that I want to use both the programming method and the direct control method, in which case I would need to toggle which mode the robot is in. The input is integrated into the robot, so if I want to change how the robot is controlled, I have to make changes to the robot script directly. So a better way to do this is to take all of this and remove it from the robot script and put it in a separate controller script instead. Let's do this. In this scene, you can see I've instantiated this robot, and so what we can do is we can simply add a node and call it controller. And then let's add a script to controller, and we're just going to take all of this and paste it in our new script. And then we're going to make some changes. First of all, it needs to know what it's controlling. So let's do onready var robot equals get parent. So this controller is controlling the robot that it's attached to. And then basically we just have to add robot to the start of each of these variables that are associated with the robot and the functions. There's probably a better way to handle these yield statements, but I'm just going to do get node. All right, and there we go. We have now separated the input code from the thing it's controlling. Let's just make sure that this still works. All right, the robot is still able to move around. So now the great thing about this controller is very specific to this use of the robot script. And if we want to create another room with a different method of controlling the robot, that's very easy to do. And actually I already did it. So let's go and take a look at the program-based room. So in this script, there are a bunch of programs, and the commands in those programs are going to be executed one by one. I can just show you what this looks like. So okay, in this context, you can see up in the upper left, we have a selection of commands, and then we just add them to the robot, and then the robot executes all of those commands. So for example, this is what rotate left and then move forward. Maybe we want to do that after, and then as you can see, we're able to use the same robot code in two very different game modes here. And the benefits go beyond this. I mean, you could, for example, put the robot in some sort of testing room with a predefined set of movements to make without any player input at all. Basically, we want the robot to know how to move, how to turn, and how to do other things like shoot. But we don't want it to know anything about when it should do these things. That way, we can have several different game modes or testing modes that execute the robot's functions in different ways. The benefit to doing things this way is it makes it much easier to iterate on your game. For example, here, you can just slot in and out different methods of controlling the robot without having to change anything about the robot's script. And you can test multiple different methods at the same time. Figuring out how to organize your code can be challenging, and I find that this is a very useful heuristic to keep things organized and easy to refactor. Thanks for watching.